Alex. Welcome to another edition of Opt-in. 5 minutes on the clock. We're going to talk about another point made in this fantastic article by Gartner, a report that they built on 4 ways to boost SDR pipeline. This time, I want to talk about a statistic that they brought up. 34% of SDRs cite that they have too many non-sales activities, and that is a common challenge of theirs, mainly attributed to the fact that people expect SDRs to manually source and update a lot of the data that they need to do their job, prospect data. So the report, I keep saying article, the report recommends that organizations set up some type of non-SDR resource, either in the operations side of things or on the marketing side of things, that's responsible for basically just sourcing external prospecting data, making sure that it is of high quality, it's manually being updated, enriched, etc. Basically a way to reduce administrative time for SDR so they can focus on doing their job, which is prospecting. Talk me through some thoughts that you have on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and I think it's one that who does the prospecting is has such convoluted answers in sales. You'll meet, say, like closing reps that love to do their own prospecting, SDRs that love it, SDRs that hate it, and then you're seeing now probably in the last 5 years or so a growth of this sort of operations role where their job is really find the prospects, go on LinkedIn, give them to the SDRs, give all that data to the SDRs for the SDRs to then follow up on. So I don't know if there's one specific way you should be doing it. I think a lot of it is focusing on the bandwidth and the ability to focus for whoever's doing it. So you said, about a third of all SDRs that were pulled in this report said they were spending too much time doing prospecting. So
I don't think that they were spending too much time sourcing data, but that it was a massive challenge to them being able to hit goal.
Yes. So I think, there's a part of it that's definitely focused on incentives, and SDR incentives are very rarely focused on gathering the data, right? It's about the actual activities. But that says to me that there's clearly a need in the space for better data, and as much as, web crawling and data collection bots that are out there, there's still something to be said about, at least with today's technology, a real person who's able to go in, find the data, cross-reference it with their LinkedIn or business profile, and say hey, these are actually good people. I know that because SDRs also, if they get a list from marketing, the general consensus among salespeople is this list is probably crap. Whether or not it is, that's the vibe. And so those kinds of lists aren't going to do as well as saying oh, hey, Jason over on the operations team, I'm just making up names here, gave us this list. He went through, search for this. Jason can talk to you directly, tell you exactly why and what he did, versus marketing being yeah, we purchased this list from a vendor. They said it was good, right? Very different things there. So I think for me, it's less about who's doing the prospecting. Generally speaking, it's more about finding the system that works for you. And if your SDRs feel like they don't have time to do their sales generating activities because they're spending too much time prospecting, then you absolutely should look into some sort of operations role or some other way to get that research done.
Yeah, I'll supplement your example there with a story of my own, where as an SDR, I remember the marketing team that was supporting us, they got very excited over a list that they had generated. I believe it was an event list where they had a webinar or some type of digital event that they had sponsored. And there were somewhere around 100, 150 good fit prospects that they were able to, on their end, kind of triage and pull into a list and deliver to the SDRs for follow-up. They were super excited about this. They were this is going to be a slam dunk. And I remember going through the list, and it was 65% of the data was stale, or in some capacity just incorrect. There were wrong phone numbers, there were wrong email addresses, people had moved companies, etc. So I spent a good chunk of that day just cleaning that list up and then being able to execute prospecting after the fact. But that was hours of my time wasted. So I know why 34% of reps are saying that it's a challenge to them, because it is a real challenge. And to your point, if marketing is just delivering a list, even someone in marketing now, still have a bad taste in my mouth from when I was an SDR when it comes to getting a list delivered or building something for a team and delivering it to them kind of in the hopes that like all the data is good. There's so much value in having that operations individual or team there to help enrich or augment or just provide a story behind the data. I think that's the big thing that I want to focus on what you said there. Like having a reason to reach out to someone is 100% necessary when you are reaching out rather than just like you're a name on a list that was given to me by my marketing team. If Jason in operations pulled a list and then went through and enriched or augmented it with relevant information and then delivered to the SDRs and said, hey, here's 25 target accounts that you should go after. Within each target account, here's a few people. I pulled in Mark because he's a CMO and he has a quote somewhere in a podcast where he said this. Focus on that when you reach out. If I was an SDR and I got that information, I'd be ecstatic to reach out to this account because I have something to focus on rather than here's 25 target accounts, here's a few people in there, go nuts. Providing me some more direction and providing the reps that like meat to hook onto and give you a reason to reach out to someone is so much more impactful. And like the report is saying, something that reps shouldn't do. Like that should be reserved for an operations team, some type of rev ops or marketing function or whatever, because they have the time and bandwidth to be able to do that rather than a rep who should be spending 70% of their day prospecting.
All right, AJ, 15 seconds. Tell everybody about opt-in.
Opt-in, quick 5-ish minute videos, actionable sales development tips, minimal fluff. You can find us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on our Instagram, and on the website, demanddrive.com. That's something that we do here at Demand Drive. We've experimented with a team. Say that.
Do you want me to put that in the end?
Not that specifically.